There is an unbelievable and undeniable stream of abundance that is flowing to you and wants to flow through you in every single moment. And it's trying to get your attention. It's speaking to you constantly. But it's often a subtle kind of whisper that requires a certain quality of attention in order to receive it, hear it, recognize it, and to act on it. And a little over a year ago, I arrived here in Bali. And I know that because today's my birthday, and it was around my birthday when I arrived here. And the backstory here was that for the months before coming here, I was in Holland. And as a Canadian, I have a 3-month visa that I can stay in Europe for. And I was coming to the end of that visa. So I had to make a choice. My girlfriend was about to go and stay with her friend who was going to give birth, and she was going to be there for several weeks to help her with this. So I had to leave, and she was going to stay, and I needed to decide where I was going to go. And this was a few months into making YouTube videos. So I was still figuring it out. I was starting to see the fruits of my devotion and commitment, but I really still was not feeling like I had gotten into a groove yet, even though I was enjoying it and I was fully committed to seeing it through. But in this crossroads, I really kind of surrendered and asked for guidance. I wanted to tune into which path I should take, which would be most serving, which would be most aligned. And really the two options that I were feeling was to either go back to Canada, where I was from, and to save some money and move in with my family and double down on this practice of creating, sharing from my heart and putting it out into the world on YouTube. Or I wanted a sign to take a leap of faith, to take a risk, to go somewhere that would be a new environment, that would be supportive and nurturing for this daily commitment. And I needed some kind of a nudge. And I had a friend who I'd met years before in Whistler who had moved to Bali. And we were very close at the time, but we hadn't really spoken or seen each other for over 5 years. And in this meditation asking for guidance, it occurred to me, Bali. And at first, it was inspiring. It was exciting. It felt like, okay, I have to do this. But then, of course, it was filtered through my limiting beliefs and my fear and my doubt. And I only had a few $100s in my bank account at the time, just enough to buy the plane ticket and book a few nights in a guest house where I would then be here and be then able to figure out my next steps. And so I thought about it for a little while, and I came back around to it the next day and I asked again, what would be the most supportive environment? What would be the best decision? Where should I go that would help me pursue this and manifest this vision that I have? And again, it was very clear, Bali. And so in that moment, through faith, through courage, I was invited to step through fear. I was invited to step through my doubt, my insecurity, through the sense of lack that was apparent in my bank account, in my being, and I booked a ticket. And something really interesting happened next, which was utterly magical and synchronistic. I arrived here in Bali, and after the first couple of days of tiredness and time zone change and jet lag and etc., I felt that this is a very nourishing place to be. And I was so inspired by the natural surroundings and by the people and by the ceremonial kind of posture of this culture. And I met up with my friend who I had not seen for years. And this is the magical thing, the synchronicity, which just blew my mind, is that he was living right across the road from where I was staying. And he had built this whole compound of villas, beautiful, natural wooden villas in the authentic kind of style of the Balinese culture. And he asked me, where am I staying? And I said, right across the road. And he said, well, I have this little cottage. It's very simple and primitive, but it has a shower, it has, a comfortable bed, and you can stay there for as long as you want. And I thought, this is the confirmation. This is the sign that I've been waiting for, to know that I am being supported, that I am on the right track. And so I stayed there and I made the Masterclass and I created tons of videos, and I really fell into a rhythm of creating on YouTube and sharing. And that was really the beginning of everything coming together. It's when I started to have some kind of viral videos, and I started to put my offers out there and start to allow myself to receive the abundance that wanted to move through me, which I otherwise wouldn't have had the opportunity to do if I had gone back to Canada and stayed with my family, because I would have been making very different choices. I wouldn't have put myself in the position with no money left in my bank account, no connections to other people, no novel perspective in a new environment, no kind of back against the wall attitude of, okay, it's now or never, I'm going to make this happen. You see, the motivation and the inspiration that kept me going was the novelty of waking up into the unknown. And that required me to step first. That required me to make an investment in myself, in my vision. That required me to take a leap of faith. And you see, that's the thing about this stream of abundance, your higher guidance, is that it's constantly speaking to you, constantly trying to reach you and support you. But you have to take the first step. The universe will reflect you in the quality of the consciousness that you are living true to. And in truth, it's always reflecting you. But if you're playing it safe, playing it small, playing within your comfort zone, then you will be met with more of that. And this is what I've come to recognize so clearly, is that the more willing I am to step out of that comfort zone, the more willing I am to double down and invest in myself, in my vision, the more I'm willing to reach out, to connect with other people, to surrender to that co-creative force of life, which wants to support you, nurture you, provide for you, but you have to be willing to make the first move. Then actually everything starts to unfold beautifully. But the key, the doorway, is through the fear, the doubt, the insecurity, the guilt, the shame, whatever else is coming up, those lower frequencies, those emotional blockages, those doubtful thoughts. You see, this is why I often talk about courage, because courage is the key to the door of everything that you want. But you have to take that first step. And we often think that we need confidence in order to be courageous, or that courage is something that we kind of build up and amass, some compounding thing. But actually, it's just the choice. And in every moment that you choose for courage, it's not that it becomes necessarily easier, because it always requires courage. But that, as a relative experience, starts to cultivate a different relationship with those lower kind of frequencies of fear, of doubt, of insecurity, right? You start to give less significance to those energetic symbols within your being, because you recognize them as the signpost that you are on the right track, that you're crossing the threshold into the unknown where synchronicities can find you. You see, through your fear is fulfillment, is freedom. Financially, emotionally, mentally, in terms of interpersonal connection, in terms of everything that you're meant to create. It is all there waiting for you, but you must take the first step, an act of courage, an act of faith. And the universe responds in kind. It reflects you and your willingness to choose for you, despite what your circumstances tell you, despite what your bank account says, despite what other people would tell you or try to convince you of is foolish, or you're not ready for, or that's just a pipe dream. If you feel it in your heart, Even if you doubt that feeling for a moment, you know if you tune in and ask yourself, what is true? What is that next level? What should I do next? And if you trust that feeling, everything becomes magical. The path of least resistance unfolds and everything comes to you. This is the power of alignment. And as I said, it's my birthday. I'm feeling generous and I want to extend this discount for this upcoming masterclass where we're going to be talking about this and so many other things that I've been talking about over the next couple of weeks. This is going to be distilling my experience over the last year and a half since coming to Bali, everything that's happened since, the multiple countries that I've lived in and worked from in that time, the hundreds of people that I've worked with, and the hundreds of videos that I've made. Over 47,000 subscribers that have found me here on YouTube in that time, and the tens of thousands that I make every single month as a result of this. That's why I'm calling it paid to exist. Because the adventure of life, which is a reflection of you being true to you, is available to you when you choose you and you act in faith. So if you're interested in joining this masterclass, getting this discount, and joining me and a small group of creators this weekend, comment create down below and I'll send you information about it.